I'm very delighted to introduce Magdalena Firlit. She is a professional Scrum trainer at Scrum Work, lean and agile enthusiast who has helped a number of organizations and practitioners, including me. I'm one of the Magda students. I'm really happy about that. And one of her other passions is traveling, but the currently limited options do not stop her, and online shopping allows her to explore different countries through spices and flavors. So I guess the only thing that has stopped her now is the capacity of kitchen cabinets. Today, she will lead us with question, what does it mean and what it takes to be an agile organization? Her talk is based on insights from agility adoption in at least 30 organizations and cooperation with top and middle management. Magda, warm welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Hope you can all hear me. Thank you for the invitation I received from Agile Swarming, and I'm happy and excited to be here and to start talking about it. So you should see my screen. Yeah, and you should see me, very small me, in the window. Probably that would be beneficial for us to pin my video, okay, on the full screen. Can we do it, or I should do it?
Yes,
I
but
did it.
it's not about. But it's not about pinning. It's about spotlight. So let me arrange that, because pin is local. Only you can see the person pinned. What you're asking for is spotlight. So just give me 1 minute. Just start presenting, and I will get it arranged.
Okay, thank you so much. As Veronica said before, I had the chance to cooperate with many organizations, large and middle ones, corporate environment, non-corporate environment. And I've noticed that all of them, they wanted, of course, to become more agile and so on. But what does it mean? And I've noticed that this process requires organizational engagement to be successful, just simply like that. So actually, Veronica said something about me, so maybe it's not important not to spend time on me. Who am I? So I will move on to my presentation mode. Okay, so agility adoption. What does it mean? In 30 different organizations. This is my private research I did, and I could participate in the process or train them, or both. So being engaged both in the process and in the training in those organizations. And I also observed some patterns and obviously anti-patterns. Majority of them concern an engagement on the organizational level. Low engagement means, of course, less successful agile adoption, of course. So don't expect also that this process will end. What I mean by that, I mean that agile transformation is not a goal itself, but it is a means to an end, to become a learning organization that continually improves and delivers valuable products to the customers. Yeah. So we shouldn't expect that this process will end. There is obviously such a sort of expectation in organizations. This is what I've noticed, and please don't expect this will never end. You would like to become more and more and more perfect as an organization. So this is like the continuous improvement actually process. So don't think about agility adoption as a goal itself. Obviously, there are different goals. And this is the question, why agile? That should be asked first. So this is what I observed in organizations. They don't really know why we are moving towards agility. So I mean, on all organizational levels, they are not clearly stated why we are moving towards agility as the organization, not as a team, not as a single product, but as an entire organization. So if you haven't done so ask yourself and your organization this question so far in your environment, I would really encourage you to ask this question at any time. So reasons are important and may lead you to transformational goals, just simply like that. And these goals are crucial in agility adoption. This is also my observation, what I noticed, especially when they are known widely in the organization from the top level to teams level. Everyone understands reasons and actually everyone is on the same page. And I strongly recommend to set up those goals rather than a well-defined schedule of the transformation, because there is also another experience. People provide me a well-defined schedule. So I was hoping you gave me some schedule of the transformation. There was nothing like schedule of the Agile transformation. I would prefer to set up goals. We can fulfill them, or sometimes we can abandon them if they are not relevant anymore. So the process of Agile transformation is complex and requires an empirical approach. We mean inspection adaptation, of course. And also another, my observation is that top-down or bottom-up approaches can be inefficient, unfortunately. So one is like top-down, so the Agile transformation is forced by top management C-level, or bottom-up. It can work, of course, both of them can work in some special circumstances, but not necessarily is the way to achieve success. And also what I noticed, but the better approach is that we have the transformation at all levels. All levels are involved, actually, from the top, middle, and team level, obviously, yes. And we know, and those goals are known and understandable to everyone, actually. What is next? And after also spending years in different agile or wannabe agile environments, I defined 3 areas, levels on which the process of the change occurs. So the first level is mindset, actually. And changing mindset means actually that predictive environments, we are moving this process from predictive traditional environments to empirical process. So there is a challenge actually for people at each level, and they are challenged to shift their way of thinking. And as the outcome of this action, there is a comprehension of empiricism as an answer to complexity. That's challenging, actually. This is like one of the most difficult levels in the entire process. And there is also a necessity of frequent inspection adaptation and importance of the transparency, which is really, really not popular and not convenient for majority of people, actually, because it's kicking out us from our comfort zones. And once the organization realizes that the Agile mindset is a prerequisite of the successful transformation and understands and truly behaves in the Agile manner, so there is an easier way to expect positive outcomes because of the change. It becomes quite natural to the organization to set up those important goals and then make decisions based on facts towards these goals, of course, and value. So this is like a constantly inspecting and adapting, truly understanding the agility mindset. The next level is actually about the strategy. So organization set up transformational goals and is deliberately value-oriented and customer-oriented organization. This is what we want. And the product portfolio is ordered based on customer value and other, of course, factors. But this is something, but we doing it like consciously, actually. Strategy is based on customer value, so it's driven by value-oriented and customer-oriented organization. And investments, for example, in products with limited or low potential opportunities to the market are just not founded. That's also something different, right? So we are even managing, for example, budget or budgeting process in the agile manner. So this can be some sort of the result, positive, of course, result. And the entire company actually benefits from running experiments and make decisions based on facts and what to worth invest and what to not worth invest. So the overall Agile transformation vision is clear and is understood also by entire company. So there are several factors. I will be discovered like in details them just in a moment. And the third level, operational level. So this is usually this is a change in organizational structure. And it is very often required. So for example, moving from project-oriented organization to the product-oriented organization, or reducing, for example, hierarchy. That's also a challenging process in majority of organizations. And also we can expect here on this level, organizational level, we can expect self-managing teams. So this is also some sort of challenge, not only for the level or oriented organization like team level, but also from the middle management. It's not only their allowance, but also support. So the organization also intentionally uses an evidence-based approach. So we inspect again and adapt at each level. So probably it's nothing surprising here, but company that took this effort, and frequently sometimes only in some departments, not the entire organization, but they may observe positive significant results like improvements in many areas. And examples, those areas can include, for example, increased customer satisfaction, increased market share, or innovation rate, or faster time to market, and also many other factors. Okay, so mindset in details. What does it mean? So as I covered just a moment ago, it means empirical organization. Empirical means continuously inspection adaptation and evidence-based management decision making. What does it mean? It means that we have an evidence, we have facts, and we are making decisions based on facts, not based on our predictions, our wishful thinking, our demands, but based on evidence. And this is also what I mentioned before, actually about Agile transformation, but it's not a goal anymore. It's just a learning process, and we must understand it. What does it mean? And also what may change is a positive agile culture and radical transparency, which is also challenging. And positive agile culture means also like reducing hierarchy, changing completely the way how our culture is oriented. And also very often I've noticed in majority of organizations that leadership replaces traditional management. What we have here the strategy in details. So transformation vision, it should be done, and it should be done also including top management level. We may have as a team our transformation vision, we may have goals, but we will be unable actually to run majority of organizational changes, like for example changing the process for the entire organization. That would be impossible actually to do it without support, like active support from middle and top management. This is also my observation. So sometimes organizations are really successful when they run only for one product or for one area. That's perfectly fine. And the rest organization is looking at them, and then the whole mindset is spreading. That's also possible. But it's easier, just simply easier when everyone is on the same page. And of course, it's difficult to obtain. Absolutely, yes. And on the strategy level, what should be set up also, measuring value, and also for entire organization. This is also this what I mentioned before, this thinking where to put our fundings and where to not, where we should invest in which product area or not. When we measure value, we have facts again, and we can make decision based on facts. Absolutely. So product-oriented organization usually is the result of this strategy changes. And organization structure is discussed. Very often I've noticed that after Agile transformation, there is no end. So during the process, let's say, of Agile transformation, organizational structure is different as a result. And in one organization, I have observed that they constantly change completely their hierarchy, their structure that was flattened. But also what they did, they changed each quarter their organizational setup to better fulfill customer goals, to better be value and customer oriented. That was a wonderful experience. And actually maybe those changes were too often, maybe once per quarter is too often, I don't know. We need to assess after some period probably of time. But at the same time, that was absolutely fine, but they looking for the best structure, but support actually the product delivery than not. And also very often it's been changing into the product-oriented organization. So from this classical hierarchical structure, the organization is changing into the product-oriented bubbles. They are like bubbles that serve specifically product. And operational level, actually, operational level, that would be that top management actually is involved in removing organizational impediments. Very often we expect from Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, or maybe Agile leaders that they will remove all impediments. Of course, they can and they should do it. But sometimes they need to ask top management, C-level actually, or vice president level of some sort of those high levels of the organization, because they are in power, in charge of to change organizational processes, like for example, this flattened structure or completely changing the structure. So this is something that can be done by them, or changing the technology. Sometimes it's not a decision of the single engineer or the single team. That's the organizational change. That's why this top management is so important, and middle management to be involved, but actually actively involved in this process. And also evidence-based management approach, so measuring agility, measuring value, measuring current value, measuring unrealized value, time to market, and ability to innovate on the organizational level. That's something that is really efficient and it's really working. And majority of organizations, when it's done with this proper mindset, let's say, that's really beneficial. And we can easily say, when is our painful point? What's going on in our product and then also on the organizational level? And when it comes to this operational level, also Agile framework implementations. Of course, I mean here, Agile lean mindset, of course, absolutely yes. So both can be Scrum, can be extreme programming, can be Kanban, where it makes sense. When we have some departments, for example, maybe legal department, where it doesn't make sense to apply Scrum actually there, but maybe something different, of course. Whereas the complex environment, actually Agile and lean approaches, they work very good there. And in other environments, for example, in simple or complicated environment, we can use Kanban or maybe some just their own process. So not everyone must work Scrum. This is also what I've noticed. There is actually an anti-pattern. I'm rather here positive, but also I must mention some anti-pattern. But some organizations also, there is like the small percentage, but maybe 15% of my research said that Scrum is applied everywhere, even for reporting departments or even for accounting departments. It doesn't really make sense. That's not maybe so much complex environment, and maybe people don't want to use Scrum. However, I love Scrum, obviously, and I'm still passionate about it many years. I don't see any like positive outcomes from having those Agile frameworks, like for example, Scrum, in some departments when it completely doesn't make sense. So please consider it also where to use Scrum, where not to use Scrum when you are on this operational level, where to maybe leave their own simple maybe process. So also be cautious about it. Yeah. And what does it mean actually organizational agility, to sum up a bit? So the first thing, when I said at the very beginning of this talk, that was the answer of the question, why? Why Agile? And to have the Agile transformation vision and also create goals, but those goals should be done together with the top management level as well. This involvement is really, really crucial. As I mentioned before, for example, those organizational structures or applying Agile metrics like evidence-based management, I mean, measuring value, or be the learning organization or hypothesis validations. So this is something, and of course, experiments. So this is something that can be done and by quickly, really quickly, by top management involvement actually in the process. And it's really, really difficult without them to change the organization. Sometimes there are, like, I call it like, so sort of creeping transformation, because people are trying and trying 10 years, and they are in the process, and actually very little is changed. So that's the result, because of lack of top management and middle management, of course, as well, involvement. That's really difficult for people to really change the entire organization without their not only support, but also active involvement. And we must also think about it as a learning organization, and try to convince your top management not only to establish those goals, but sharing with people what does it mean to be really a learning organization. It means that learning is the first class citizen, actually. It means that we will be maybe failing sometimes a bit, but those experiments, our validation of our hypothesis, will be quite low cost. We don't need to invest our full budget into delivering some feature. We can invest just only maybe a few hours and a few days to validate our assumption if it's worth to go to this direction, or we should refrain from investing more money or time of our organization into the specific feature or specific solution. And also, what is challenging, and also what requires top management and middle management involvement, it is this product and customer-oriented organization. Absolutely, it is, because it requires, again, changes in our organizational structure. So I know that I'm repeating myself here, but it's so important. That's why I wanted to emphasize it, to be clear with it. And also, this organizational agility you can see when the organization really understands empiricism and agility. What does it mean? Why we are agile? And again, so we are coming back again to the question why we are agile, again to the vision of the transformation, again to goals. So that's something that can help you maybe as a sort of navigation for you. And the next actually, the last thing I wanted to discuss, what does it mean in details, this organizational engagement? So I believe I covered this top management active involvement. But also, what I also noticed, maybe it's not your case, but maybe it is your case. So please think about it in your minds about business and IT. I've noticed that those two departments, very often there are two different departments, and they are not working together towards common goals. They are working separately with different goals, and that is a cause actually for a huge mess very often in product delivery. So also having those mutual goals of the transformation and product and customer and value oriented goals, of course, they can help you very, very much. So that's also what I've noticed. I mentioned about impediments, but I wanted to give you also some examples of when we have those organizational impediments that cannot be resolved by Scrum Masters themselves or Agile leaders themselves. So you can organize sort of impediment board, actually, and together with top or middle management, depends, of course, on the level of the impediment, and together just remove this waste, because very often those impediments are just basically waste in the process or for example, when it comes to decisions when changing technology or so. So I would really encourage to create together board, together with top and middle management, and of course teams on top. Everyone should be involved, and then you can have this really active involvement and define who will be removing this impediment, actually. That's really helpful, especially I love situations when top management is really engaged and they are taking their card with their impediment and it's done. Is actually resolved. So that's a very beautiful moment in each organization. Also, I mentioned many times customer and value-oriented organization, but also measuring progress against goal is important. It means that when you measure this progress, and the goal is, of course, should be measurable, and we can call it a lagging indicator. So we measure leading indicators, so those actions also that can fulfill this goal and help us to reach this goal. And when you measure it, and then when you see that those actions doesn't approach and doesn't let you be closer to reaching this goal, just simply change it. So again, involve empiricism, inspection, adaptation, and also the culture. Very often something is changing also in the HR department. So what I said at the very beginning, it is that the entire organization can be impacted by the transformation. Also, very often I've noticed really positive changes on the HR level. For example, they are changing the process, how we would like to, as right now, think about our people, from individuals to teams level very often. So, and it's not doing like once per year, but very often. So it is like the culture of constant feedback. Also, that can be also another positive result. And hierarchy can be completely flattened structure. Also, when it comes to those bubbles I mentioned before, those bubbles, product oriented bubbles. Even in the large corporate environment, you can actually have those like separate, it looks like actually like separate small organizations inside the large organization. So also I would really encourage you to think about it, how we can change our organization. In such organization, of course, all experiments are really welcomed. So there is no further question. So are we going to only experiment? No, absolutely not. We are going to have some short, really fast, low-cost experiments to see if you are on the right track. And also legal department can be impacted, actually. For example, agile contracts might be necessary. Especially when you work with some business partners, with some customers, or in different, of course, setup. But when the agile contract is really necessary, so let's consider it as well if you need this engagement from legal department. Also about employees. Employees right now, it's like not the question. According to research, happy employees are actually at least 20% more effective. It's, for example, Gallup research, but also there are different researchers, and they said actually that between 90 and 23% people are more effective due to the fact that they are happy and really engaged in the product delivery. And also we must remember that decisions should be clear and should be understandable to the whole organization and transparent. So entire organization understands why this decision has been made. That's also the great thing I've noticed in majority of organizations. Also, I haven't mentioned product owners yet, but yes, they are really real product owners, and they are empowered to make product decisions. They can really be like entrepreneur to the product. And also, what about top-down management? It's not anymore. It's replaced by leadership, and people are actually allowed to also make some decisions. Obviously, when it comes to boundaries, so they have some boundaries, but within those boundaries, they can really self-manage themselves, and they can be more creative and take some actions. So I believe that's all. This is the lightning actually talk. That's not the talk because it's only 30 minutes, guys. So I cannot share everything, but this is what I can really encourage you also. I can also, if I may, Veronica, maybe I can also invite people to read my article. And there is like the questionnaire of 12 questions about the Agile transformation, and some questions, but you can ask yourself and think where we are in our process, what we can actually improve. It's available on my website, so you can, in the blog part, so you can think about it also. That would be some follow-up after this talk.